We did it! We fixed it! Everything is resolved, I hope. Okay, for real this time, welcome to the 1 versus 2 Upper Division GSL match of Pikachu eSports versus the Big C. We're so excited to be casting this. I already said all of this like an hour ago. But seriously, I'm legitimately excited to be casting this, and I know you are too. We are going to be redrafting. We're going to be seeing a full best of 3 as far as we're aware. That's what both teams have agreed to. So despite the delays, we are going to see a full set of Smite in what should be one of the best GSL matches so far this season. What are your thoughts on whatever we haven't given our thoughts on yet?
I guess the main thing is, since we last gave our opening spiel, we have another sub. I'm not even sure where they're going or who's going to shuffle around, but this is going to be a, just absolute battle of which team can adapt to the situation quicker, because both of them are now running subs. I believe Pikachu is having to play players out of their normal roles in addition to that.
Yeah.
And these are the 2 best teams in the league. This is the highest class bout we could possibly have on the stream today, and it's coming to this.
We were joking about, at what point in subs and role swaps do you just become a different team?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be very interesting to see how things play out as a result of all of the subs and role swaps that we may be seeing here. Honestly, while I personally would have preferred to cast the original teams, it is always interesting to see teams have to play with a sub in place. Like, if I could give an example, beginning of the year, I was talking about this while we were muted, we had the one guy that was on Thoth, and I apologize that I don't remember the team or name, but that happened at the beginning of Season 10 for Smite Pro League, or in Siege, there was the time that Canadian had to sub in for Dark Zero at a 6 Invitational because one of their players couldn't fly. I love seeing how teams adapt to players and roles they're not familiar with by necessity. It's always interesting to see how it was Gabe Ethan. Yes,
it was Gabe Ethan.
He put on a fantastic show, and the team played great around him, and he played into them. And you see those things, and it's so exciting to see the way that teams can play around these players. As far as fixing bans, the reason I haven't really brought it up, and I assume the reason you haven't brought it up yourself, is because it's all standard. I think the weirdest thing is the Danza ban, but even that's not a bad ban.
Yeah, this seems like both we have had one draft so far in this set. That game didn't actually get played out because of a disconnect that didn't get resolved, but I noticed a lot of these bans are, countering out things that the teams picked in game 1, like
the emoji of the Dons of the Terra.
Yeah, but the results of that is that what were the first bans of last game, Robin and Yorm, have been picked top 3, which means there's going to be a barn burner in that solo lane between the 2 of those gods.
I mean, what if it's Yorm support Horus solo?
No, I would be extremely disappointed to see that be the case.
I would be disappointed, but I would also be proud because I love seeing just bad decisions that technically work.
And we do have a Kuzenbo. Yeah.
Been on the rise this patch.
Yeah.
Well, technically last patch in this patch, but...
Yeah, and this is, I think, just partly because Kuzenbo is such a good anti-backline pick, and partly because, Xbalanque takes a second to get going in lane, and Kuzenbo is one of those supports that can kind of hold down the fort in the early 5-minute sort of span, and given that there's a Horus on the other side, that is necessary as we get the Giannis pick out of mid.
Those portals can be so helpful for self-peel, helping teammates, and then of course the portals created by Through Space and Time. They can allow for... Through Space and Time itself can just be a gank tool without walking through any of the portals. You just shoot it off into a side lane, and if you hit your shot, that's half of someone's health bar just completely gone. And then if that doesn't connect or doesn't do enough damage, you just go through the portals, and suddenly you're in solo lane beating up the enemy solo laner with your solo laner, and it's a party at that point. Light the candles, slice the cake up, nom nom, right?
Interesting that we're seeing some mage priority bans, the Agni and the Thoth that we've been talking about a little bit today because of our friend Gabe Ethan, and a couple of hunter bans coming in from the other side.
The Heimdall ban's interesting, I think. We haven't seen... I personally haven't seen a lot of Heimdall or talk of Heimdall, but the Rama ban I do think is pretty standard. He's been strong for as long as hasn't been the longest time, but he's been not bad the entire time I've been following competitive Smite. So seeing him banned is not a strange sight to me.
Yeah.
Along with Ishtar being hovered, another hunter that
they will all obey
has been strong
their
the entire
goddess.
time I've been following competitive Smite.
Yep, looks like after 6 hunter bans and a hunter pick, finally wanting to get that, ADC locked in some way, and a pretty good one, based on the state of this lane, gonna have the absolute clear advantage in the early ends. A Susano pick and an Arachne hover.
That is very interesting. Is that a Susano mid we're looking at potentially? No.
It might just be trolling us. I see that wrong for now.
It was an Arachne mid being hovered. I see. Okay.
The sun has risen
we are going
once
to get
again.
Raw locked in. Raw's been picking up steam slowly over the course of just all of Season 10 of Smite, and it's been very interesting to see. Raw being a very one-note character, he's got 2 big burst abilities and 2 abilities that a lot of the time just kind of don't exist.
I don't know. They do provide quite a lot of utility, and especially with all the power nerfs going around. Having that heal that no longer even scales on power is just flat and has all that other, protection buffs and whatever else that ability does.
If you are in a position that you can stand inside of that circle without repercussion, the heals and the protections are absolutely fantastic. And if you can get close enough for the 2 to get it slow off, that is again going to do a lot. It's a big slow, if I'm recalling correctly. My issue with them personally is just that those situations are relatively few and far between. I don't think they're useless abilities by any means, and when they're strong, they are very powerful, and with the buffs given to those abilities to push Raw, they've certainly become better in their niche, but one of them is still basically a melee ability, and the other still keeps you trapped in a circle to get the full benefit out of it. But yes, the heal and the protections are utterly fantastic, and seeing Raw used well is just something I love. So,
although he will have to be careful with this Naja pick coming in, last pick. A lot of utility in the late game with that prot shred and with that single target lockdown and bruiser potential. But in the early game, Naja a very good, just pick someone and gank them option. And with that Giannis for follow-up, they could go with the ult combo and just
there's so much you could do there.
Life awful. He'll have to be very careful in that mid lane. The Jibbalonki not quite as much, and Ravin with some of the best defense in the entire game is always going to be fine. So I expect a lot of pressure to come out on this Raw.
Well, and let's also not forget that everyone on that team can set up for the Naja to get that ult off. Ishtar has the root and the mesmerize, Yorm has the knockup, Janice has the portals, and Horus has a stun and a knockup. So everyone on this roster has the potential this game to set up for that Naja to make a massive play, and a good few of them can follow up on those very same plays. So that'll also be very interesting to see how specifically the synergy plays out on that front. We don't have anything quite that spicy going on the other side, but that's not to say that there's no synergy whatsoever between these picks.
Yeah, it's like the Big C's draft, to me, doesn't seem so much like the single target, complete burst that Pikachu's got, because you are right, that Horus can just lock someone down and, let them get completely nuked from orbit. So can the Naja. But the Big C just seems to have a lot of teamfight potential. That Raven zoning, with that, interruption from the Kuzenbo, whether it be from the ultimate or the Thorns forcing a backliner out. Xbalanque, once he gets online, just pumps out damage in the late game. And obviously, a Susano that gets going and hits a decent ult and all these auto cancels is
So
going to
much
be a
damage.
problem.
So much damage to watch out for. Tried to say watch out for and look out for, and I said watch out for.
And then they just kind of, and then in the late game, that Ra is honestly like just going to be a facilitator pick to the rest of the team. Like if he hits all his skill shots and pumps out his damage, sweet. But just being a distraction with a heal attached to it is going to be enough for him, just based on the rest of this draft.
Absolutely. As well as, again, I know we keep circling back to this, but the protection's both given and shredded by that 3. If you're able to either be in or keep enemies in that circle, it goes such a long way in these team fights.
Yeah, and I'm also kind of excited to see how this Ishtar plays out. I haven't seen a lot of her in competitive recently. After however many nerfs she got consecutively after her release, it was a lot. She finally seems to be in sort of a middle of the road position, but still good enough to pick. With 7 other options are taken out, and has that early game pressure, which is going to be huge for Pikachu eSports. And it looks like we are finally into the game.
Fun.
Oh yeah, just does everything to some degree.
But yeah, we are indeed going to be getting into the game.
It looks like double teleport.
Very excited to. Very excited to see this match, as we've been saying this whole time. 1 versus 2 matches this late in are pretty spicy, as always. Very interesting to see. We do see the more standard teleport coming out of both solo laners. We're also seeing the lifesteal shard coming out of the Susano. So, talking about the shards just like last time. No, I mean, everything looks pretty normal to me on both sides here, though.
Yeah, it's like that wing shard out of the Naja to synergize with the movement passive, the red shard just to completely nuke someone from orbit on the Susan, and everyone else just going horn shard or wing for the ADCs. And I do notice the Gemma focus start from the Giannis. We've been seeing a lot of this lately out of players who believe that they can just get their cooldown from Chronos Pendant, Spear of Deso, Soul Gem, and the like, so they can end up going Gemma Focus for that massive utility that item brings.
It's so much extra damage on the upgrade, and your wave clear is just so much better with it than otherwise it would be. So it's a very nice, comfy item to have.
Oh, and we see already in the early game a low health bar on that Yorm solo, and he will be going down for first blood.
Indeed, that was quite sudden, but we are going to see it happen, as well as seeing the duo lane of Big C be just a little bit slower. That could have an impact on things. So
we have a counter gank coming in from the Naja, and
in return going to be successful. So that's going to be a nice trade, not perfect, but certainly not bad. No, it's looking like
will be advantage. Yeah, will be an advantage to the Raven for having that extra first gold bounty. Managed to pick up tier 2 Kusari off of that bag, but we'll definitely keep that lane from just spiraling completely out of control.
And Big C was able to scare away Pikachu's duo lane from that shield buff. Horus getting grabbed by the Kuzenbo, but is going to return fire with a knockup and then choose to walk away. Once again, looking like they're looking to circle shield buff like vultures. Not the kind of bird I would have expected Horus to be, but hey, here we are.
Looks like we have a rotation out coming from the, I believe, substitute jungler for the Big C. Just to secure that shield buff. Very valuable neutral farm, and will actually take the shield buff for himself so that he can go rotate somewhere else with it.
Indeed. The defense as well from Albi, just holding them off with the threat of Kuzenbo being big funny turtle man. Very solid defense, you know. If you're not, it may not look like a lot, but if you're not putting yourself in a position that they know you're threatening, they have the potential to just walk up and yoink the buff, and that can never be good. We're seeing a bit of a scrap come out, some more shoves coming out of Albi, but he's going to get stunned into the knockup. His health bar is getting really, really low, but it does look like he was able to get out successfully.
Yeah, meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we have this solo blue invade, if I'm correct, coming out of Big Mama, just doing it to the Yorm and the Naja together, which is not something I would have expected. But then on the other side, in order to counter, we have a purple invade, which will be successful from iServant and Krakatoa.
Yeah, and that farm and buff are both going to be really important. You know, the farm and buff are completely different things in terms of why they matter, but at the end of the day, they do both matter. Not only do you have that extra gold and XP, but you also have better clear and fight potential if you're sitting on a buff and they're not. And it really doesn't matter which buff you're talking about for that to be the case.
Yeah, and it looks like shield buff might be secured by Pikachu this time around.
Completely
yep, they will get it.
uncontested.
Yeah. No rotation from the season this time around.
Indeed.
And
Does
now,
look like the mid laners were getting a little close there, but they've both chosen to back off. Seems like duo lanes where all the action is this time.
Yeah, and solo lane, honestly.
Ooh,
Yeah,
solo lane getting some action again, though.
Yeah, the Ra Giannis are never going to fight each other. Like,
No.
they're both like, you know, we're here for utility and late game bursts and have basically nothing to do against each other in the early game. Oh, but I see a Horus ult coming in from purple buff right in the middle of the lane, and we have
and it goes straight into lane for a 3v2. The Ishtar is going to fire off those feathers, get both of them stunned, is going to be able to cause the kill to be secured over on that side, and they are going to get 2 kills, both going the way of Colada on the Naja, who is now 3-0 for Pikachu eSports.
And a counter gank in mid will not be successful from the Susano, so that is huge for Pikachu eSports. You know, they drafted in large part for this early game duo pressure with that Ishtar Horus, and it's paying off in spades here as...
Oh my goodness, and another fight starts to break out in mid, but they are going to be able to get out of that with very low health bars. If they're not careful, though, oh no, Albi's getting very close, but is not going to get there in time. Oh, that could have been so bad if things were just a second or two off of where they were.
And Colada, I believe usually a mid laner for Pikachu, you know, going for that gank and just got absolutely chunked by that Ra, was not getting the better of that situation in a matchup where, you know, I thought ganks would be, you know, primo opportunities.
Yeah, it really looked like we were going to see a fair bit more than we have, but the ones we have seen have been just these absolutely massive ones, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not terribly surprised by that side of things at all. We are also going to see that purple buff get invaded again. We're going to see Albi run in to try and save it, but way too late and gonna have to back off. That is going to be the shell spin burned That is no ultimate for Albi, and he has chosen to back due to low health. I mean, yeah, it was a gamble to try and secure the buff, and you lost the gamble. You rolled the dice. You got Snake Eyes.
Yeah, just unfortunate from him having to commit his ult to that bow. But another gank coming in on duo.
Picolata, but the
sash.
rest of the team over there isn't there to follow up, and the miss is just gonna leave and escape way too open. Now, suddenly, what we're looking at here is a big fight happening over here in the jungle. Low health coming from the Horus, who is going to go down. But you are going to get traded out for the Jablanque. ADC for support, you always want to be the one to get the support kill, or sorry, the ADC kill there. Losing the support for that trade is certainly the better outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was originally another fight breaking out. Hold that thought.
No, yeah, the fight did not break up like it looked like it was going to. We are going to see 2 more go down on Pikachu's side. So Big C it feels like every time one of these teams gets something going, the other team just says, no, we can match that.
Yeah, and it's like it was originally just a huge overstay from Pikachu eSports. Had their jungler and support just kind of sitting on the back camp, in between 3, which, should have resulted in both of them getting wiped for nothing, and they managed to take out Petters, possibly through a Giannis ult or some other thing. And so it looked like a good 1-for-1 for them, but they just continued to overstay. And, all of their lead may have just gotten evaporated by that fight.
Yeah, I mean, that first blood golds only matters until the gap gets closed, and we're seeing from both sides, like I said, everything gets traded back. And just like the first blood gold, any lead you have, it all comes down to whether or not you can hold it, and it seems like neither team is able to hold it. It seems like both of these teams are getting that little bit ahead, and then they get overconfident, they overextend, and then the gap gets closed. We are potentially going to see the Janus under threat. No, he is going to get back before Albi gets into lane, so that's going to be good for him.
Yeah, it looks like both teams have, decided to take a load off for a little bit, go into farming mode for, really the first time, since early laning.
Yeah, since the very beginning.
Yeah, just focus on some neutral camps, focus on, getting every minion in every wave, wait for those next power spikes to come online. Both mid laners have a tier 2 spear, now a Desolation for Rhydon, and then also the ADCs are, waiting on enough gold for their second item each. So not a lot of kill potential really anywhere on the map from anyone.
The Stygian Beacon really wants us to know that it is charging. That means, if you're not familiar, that it's going to be up in 2 minutes.
And
it's always interesting to see how teams prio on the beacon, because I have seen teams ignore it. Like just in competitive alone, I've seen teams ignore it. I've seen teams 5-man it. So it's always interesting to see how teams handle it and how teams handle the other team's response to the beacon coming up.
Yeah, and that looks to be what both teams are just kind of settling in for, is, get those items online, get ward vision, and then be there at 12 to do something around it.
Yeah, we see both sides having pretty deep wards right around the beacon. So while there's no vision directly on it, you can get that just by standing around, and they have the deep vision so that it's much harder to come in from the jungle on that side and contest that beacon, because then they know you're coming, and then they play around you, and then you get zoned out by the Horus or the Kuzenbo, and then you're sad.
Yeah, now that you mentioned zoning, I do want to point out that this Ra for the Big C will have a major advantage in the zoning game. That 3 is going to be huge here, just because there's so little space on that beacon that it can cover off like an entire entryway. It can, stick someone between your entire team or having to walk straight through it. And I don't really see anything like that on the side of Pikachu
Ooh, hold on a
eSports.
second. Albi gets extremely caught out, running from 2, finds 2 more, now stuck in a 1v4. It's more of a question of who gets the kill and not if, but no, they're not going to be able to close it. Albi is going to be able to get away by not moving when they expected him to keep moving. I respect that play. I respect that play. Now suddenly we're contesting the Beacon 3v1. That Raw 3 is going to keep everyone healed up. But we're now going to see Colada come over and just start going in. Not going to be able to get a ton done there, unfortunately. But now Colada, Servant, and Winchester all dancing around this objective. We are going to see the knock-up from the Horus. I think that whiffed. And suddenly we're going to see Demon come over. On the note of knock-ups, the Beacon has been taken by, I believe, Big C. I believe order is blue. My apologies. We are going to see Demon drop the World Serpent for very little benefit, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that fight was very close to, going wrong for Pikachu eSports. For the Big C after having losing that Kuzenbo ult, because that is another big factor in that just narrow enclosed space. Being able to cover so much of it and disrupt pretty much the whole enemy team in that scenario. And that's what allowed Pikachu to get their initial engage into that pit, which could have easily gone south for the Big C. But luckily for the Big C, they managed to get out of that situation. A lot of work came down from that Raw 3, and they get the beacon out of it.
We also saw a bit of a dance around Fury there. Nothing really came of it for kills or objectives, but that could have escalated very quickly, especially given that it was there for the Gold Fury. I'm a little surprised that Big C was able to get all of that space and then didn't go for the Fury. I kind of understand it, but you also have 4 people there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you probably could have melted the Fury and gotten the first jungle objective of the game.
Yeah, just
another purple invade. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I guess just didn't feel like they had the room to do it safely without getting a steal opportunity. Oh, we see a Naja ult coming onto, I believe, Petters.
Ooh, we do. Yeah, he's just dead set on telling Petters you are not allowed to have your buff, and he's very willing to do anything. We see the through space and time come out. Suddenly, we have Winchester over in the duo lane, and Petters is going to go down along with Albi, thanks to the efforts of Krakito and Winchester and Servant.
Yeah, and
so much
not only is that 2 kills in the duo lane, that was the tier 1 tower, that bastion of safety for Petters. He's now going to have to play much safer, and oh my god, Winchester.
Oh, suddenly. Ouch. It's just going to be a very unfortunate death, but a fantastic kill if you are the Big C.
Yeah, and that's huge for the Big C, because after that duo lane wipe, they were primed to go for the Gold Fury. I thought they had it in the bag, but without their mage secure, without that team fight utility, they can't. And now the Big C will turn around and pick up a Pyromancer off the back of that kill onto Winchester.
Those runic bombs are incredibly valuable, you can do so much with them. You can use them to secure Fury, or a tower, or Fire Giant, or the Titan, I guess, in theory. But there are a lot of things that you can do with them, and having those puts you at such an advantage in any sort of objective-based scenario, because you have more secure options at all times as long as there's a runic bomb present. And there usually is, because your tanks are usually the ones holding them.
Yep, and honestly, it would be huge for sieging, because one of the things a runic bomb is good for is just, if a tower is under half health, just having that Kuzenbo walk up to it casually and just take it out from that position. Oh, as we have a fight in duo.
Ooh, we are going to see the Ishtar throw the feathers out, but for not actually a ton this time, and it does look like he's going to go down to Petters, but not without killing the Susano first. Now it looks like it's just a mad dash to escape. 3v3, the knock-up from the Horus, the portal from the Janus, and that is going to be the end of Petters here. Albi now just looking to escape. So is Raiden here, and it looks like both are going to be able to get away. And if they don't get pressured out a lot, this healing from the Raw should be able to bring them back up to a relatively stable amount.
And we saw the teleport out there coming from Big Mama, who is
Big Mama wants to go in. Seems like there's no coordination, though. He's trying to go in on 3 people, and there's just no follow-up from the team. And he is finally going to be able to get out of there and back off without being chased, but I don't know. That just felt like lack of coordination watching that happen.
And with such a good engage from Ogi on the Susano, who, you know, half-health Tragato in an instant, but just couldn't secure it fast enough to get out and himself.
Ooh, and Albi's getting really low all of a sudden. Looks like he is going to be able to get out, but that's a really risky position to be in. The Janus is going to portal through the beacon. And a lot of damage comes out, but everyone on Big C's side does manage to get away. Now in solo lane, a gank from Ogi has gone very poorly onto Demon. Is going to be able to get himself out of there with about half of his health bar still remaining.
Yeah, and that's so unfortunate for the Big C, having to commit Kuzenbo ult defensively for like the 3rd or 4th time this game, having to use Robin ult defensively, you know, just to get back under tower. That's gonna, you know, hamstring their teamfight presence, and that's given Pikachu the space to try to go for a Gold Fury, and they will secure it.
Yeah, right as Big C starts to walk up, just a little bit too late to secure, and it looks like they will get a kill at the cost of multiple ultimates, though, onto the support, so certainly not a bad position to be in. We're going to see the World Serpent come out, but it's not going to get a lot done, and it is mostly going to be used to cover a retreat and regroup as Pikachu goes for the 2nd Stygian Beacon. Barely contested. I mean, it's so hard to contest the entire team from that position.
And I noticed that, you know, iServant wanted more in that situation. He committed the Horus ult and landed directly into the teeth of the Big C's defense, but nobody else came with him, and he actually nearly went down in return, which would have made that Beacon fight, you know, just that much scrappier. But, you know, he got out pretty much for free.
The big downside, if you're Pikachu out of that, is that if a team fight happens too close to those objective battles, you know, they had no ultimates coming out of that. And while Colada's ult is back up, and Winchester's will be back up fairly soon as well, it's still, you know, were a fight to break out immediately. Okay, and out of nowhere, Ogi's going to trade with Winchester. That was very sudden, very fast, and both of their ultimates.
Yeah, I mean, he went all in for that. Like, just went under tower, you know, out of nowhere in mid, you know, just for a trade, which you could argue is a worthwhile trade based on, you know, where they are in the game, but I'm not sure about it personally.
Yeah, I mean, you technically benefit more on Big C's side from that, but you still prefer to get a kill that doesn't require trading. Ooh. And Servant looking to defend Pyro alone. Be very interesting if he can scare them off. Be real spicy if he can get the steal.
Yeah, but they got that
Demon's rotated over. Okay. Suddenly the fight starts to escalate. The Xbalanque ult comes out. Eyeball privileges have been revoked, and that is going to cause some of Big C to retreat, leaving Big Mama alone once again, trying to 1vX with the team just playing really far back. I saw somebody trying to return to base there. He's gonna get knocked up. He's gonna get jumped on. He's gonna get ulted by Colada, and that is going to be enough to take him down while the entire rest of the team is just on the other side of that wall. But Ogi is going to be able to get in and avenge him by getting Colada, but not before Winchester gets the double with another through space and time. They've just been so on point all game long. And this fight's not even over. He's going to portal through. He's going to fire out the orb things. I don't know what they're called. They're round. They're spherical.
The unstable vortex. And that same unstable vortex, won Pikachu eSports the fight. Getting that, through space and time into unstable vortex combo, wiped 2 off the map, and gave them all the space in the world they needed for that Pyromancer. Getting Raiden off of his ult down, no longer able to even threaten a steal because he's dead. Winchester just went huge in that fight, and I can kind of see why, Ogi a minute ago wanted to just slow him down at any cost, because when he's hitting abilities like that, there's not a whole lot you can do into this Giannis, and he's already level 20 and has that starter upgrade.
Yeah, and with gems specifically, that is so much extra damage, not power, but damage, which is a huge modifier. And because of how you play in team fights on this god, you tend to cycle your abilities in a way that once you've fired that third ability, you're just at 3 stacks for the rest of the fight, either until you die or you win the fight. So permanently being at, 15% extra damage when you're at 3 stacks, if I recall correctly, is just, it's so incredibly powerful. And we are going to see Demon forced to use that World Serpent to escape from Big Mama and Ogi. Now we see Albi left alone to defend the Gold Fury on left side, is going to get Naja ulted, sent into the sky. But he is looking like he's going to be in a position to get away. Not if the Ishtar throws the feathers out, gets the stun, and Winchester gets yet another kill under his belt. Now 7-2.
Yeah, and that is just the oldest Smite play in the book, honestly. You see a gank into solo from the Raven and the Susan, and you just take Gold Fury. And with only one in the pit, with the Ra just kind of hovering right, and I don't even know where Petters was. That was just the freest Gold Fury of all time for Pikachu eSports. And they didn't even lose their solo laner. He got out, he had to commit his ult, but had 2 ults committed onto him.
Raiden gets really low, and under tower he is going to fall once again at the hands of Winchester. And we're going to get a pause in the middle of this fight, literally while things are exploding even.
Yeah.
We see that Ogi is dropping to about half health. Servant has dropped below half health. Winchester, once again, with these through space and times, just keeps getting plays made with them. Oh my goodness, that is one strangely posed goose. That is one weird goose.
You can see all the effects of this skin in their just full glory. Very rare frame to have this good of a view on. But what a fight this has been already, with Winchester just continuing to go huge for the entire team. Picking off Raiden, who died with ult up.
Is that the animation of Through Space and Time in its startup?
No, Giannis as an idle pose.
Okay. Just the way he looks like he's leaning back, I'm like, is that why it's down?
No, it's already down.
Okay. It was the moving pose that I think threw me off. But now we're back into the fight. Things picked up like they never stopped. We're going to see another ult coming out of Colada. Petters goes down to Winchester, and Ogi goes down to Colada. World Serpent coming out once more, choosing not to play too aggressive with it. Just a little bit of pressure under that tower, but you are in this 4v2. You're at a massive advantage despite playing against two of the stronger tanks right now. And they are going to choose to go for the tower dive. Winchester is going to get the kill onto Albi, and Demon gets the kill onto Big Mama. That's going to let them take the tower. They're just immediately going under this Phoenix. They want to get as much pressure as they can out of this deicide.
Yeah, that was huge for Winchester there to hit that floor portal, which is one of the more difficult shots to hit in the game, and a huge risk because you're burning your escape for it. But he landed it, I believe onto Albi, And that's what started that fight. And with this single target pick pressure from the rest of Pikachu, that is all the go button they needed. And they took that fight under tower and got it, and could have gotten a Fire Giant if it weren't for Krakatoa being dead. And now they're going to get this beacon for free.
They are. They could theoretically have gotten this as soon as it came up, as well as they got the Phoenix seconds before it came up. But of course, you always want to play things safe when possible. And the fact that Big C didn't move up to contest it at all made sure that that was the correct decision in the end. They are also going to follow it up with a Pyro as well as that beacon. So all of the objectives just suddenly going the way of Pikachu as they look to start a fire pull.
Yeah, they see Pedersen left with that 4v5 advantage off of that split push. This is an easy bait forward on this FG. Not going to commit to full burning it.
Oh, but Big Mama is going to get the kill onto that Ishtar. That's fantastic. That's all of your sustained damage gone. World Serpent now forced out by Demon. I can't tell if this is being used defensively or offensively. I think it's a bit of both. Not going to see a lot come out of it, and it looks like both sides are just going to back off, reset, and wait for the next fight.
Yeah,
Mama, though, looking to go back in, I think, off of that teleport, maybe?
That is huge for the Big C.
Oh, and he's going to catch Winchester out backing, but he's going to be just a little bit too late. If he hadn't hesitated and gone toward Fire Giant Pit for that brief moment, he probably could have gotten at least an engage onto Winchester. And I mean, onto an unsuspecting any mage, really. That's going to be really dangerous. So very unfortunate that he just chose to go the wrong way for even the briefest of moments as we see another Fire Giant start to get pulled.
Yeah, and that was just a huge play for the Big C. Catching Krakatoa out to his path kind of weird towards the cooldown buff was miles from his support and gets picked for it.
Oh, he's going to get low, but he is going to get Winchester, and it looks like he's going to get out safely. Now Raiden also getting low, gonna need to heal up and back out. Petters goes down to Colada. I believe that was the ultimate as well. World Serpent once again coming out. The feathers from Ishtar are going to pick up a stun and a kill. So now Petters and Raiden down, traded for Winchester. Big Mama also going to go down to Demon. Now you've got 4 people, including the ADC, sat around with the only secure threat being a Susano that you know is nowhere near you. And the enemy team has to worry about the Titans pushing down in the opposite side of the map. This should be a relatively free Fire Giant for Pikachu.
Yeah, that was a huge shutdown coming in from Ogi onto Winchester. You had to stop the bleeding from him somewhere. But at what cost? They got him and him alone. And he won't have Fire Giant because of his death timer. But you lost 3. The Titans in left, Pikachu's Titan won the fight despite the fact that Petters, split pushed earlier in the game. Specifically to make that, a little easier. That's just an unfortunate fight from the Big C, who, really made their draft around this team fight. Around these late game engagements on the FG, but I guess they're just so far behind that it's not working out.
We are also seeing Pikachu start grouping for Gold Fury. They are going to pull it, but this time there is potential if the reaction is quick enough. I don't believe they have wards there, and it looks like Pikachu does get Primal here. So that's going to set them up quite nicely for the next FG if the game goes on that long. I mean, it's not impossible for a snowball ending to happen within the next couple of minutes. They have FG and they're this far ahead, and we could see that turn very bad for Big C.
Yeah, and with Big C trying to work on keeping this mid Phoenix alive, because it did just respawn, Pikachu's just going to go all in on this left Phoenix. Already got it down to half, mostly because of that Runic Bomb. But they are wanting to make this to where there is no more FGs in this game. They want to end it right here and now.
Just seeing a lot of poke coming out from both sides. Ishtar with the long-range autos is going to get an amount accomplished. We're going to see Servant run in there, I believe, with the stun completely, but Albi is going to go down to taking just a lot of damage. World Serpent comes out, diving under the Phoenix. They're just jiggling in and out of this Phoenix whenever they have a moment, looking to see what poke damage they can get done, and they are getting more damage off. But if the damage doesn't kill, what you have to keep in mind is that Big C can just walk to their fountain and walk back, but not if they're dead, and that is almost what's going to happen to Albi. Ogie's going to get a kill onto Winchester. That's actually really good. Petters ends up getting low, but is able to get out, get back to fountain, and if he's able to get back into that fight, he's right behind it. Now they're chasing Pikachu's team away, and it looks like they're going to be satisfied with chasing them relatively deep into the jungle. But Ogie not happy with that. Big Mama not happy with that. A 2v4 breaks out. This time we actually see the rest of the team start walking up. Ogie going to be able to get out on low health. At some point, I apologize for missing it. Ishtar was thrown out, and Colada is going to get a kill onto Ogie, despite what looked like a really strong escape. So we're now 2 for 1. Still a positive trade in Big C's favor. Servant now the easiest target to get. Are they going to be able to secure it, though? It's a lot of health and protections. It looks like they're starting to back off a little bit, but suddenly they're able... Oh, no. They're able to get both of them in a position where now suddenly they can't just run away. Now we're going to see Winchester gets the kill onto Raiden, though. But it does look like, aside from Colada, the rest of the team is going to get away here. I think that was another fight that it started in Big C's favor, and then it really just felt like lack of coordination. They didn't lose that fight by any means, but it ended in more of a neutral position than anything else.
Yeah, it was just a huge overchase. That fight started with Winchester getting caught out. I don't know if he portaled into the Phoenix or if OG just went through the door and took him down. But him dying was the best thing that could have happened to the Big C. And yet that fight ended with Winchester respawning, ulting in, and, you know, chunking Raiden down. Like, you cannot chase for that long. That... You know, the one target you wanted dead is still somehow a factor in the game.
And then Big Mama jumping on to Demon instead of attempting to steal the Pyromancer. I'm not sure if that was trying to play it safe or if that was just misplaced focus. Or again, that potential lack of coordination, thinking that his team was going to be there sooner than they were. And maybe he was thinking that they were going to get the secure and he was just holding off the zoning. I don't know which one of those it is, but I'm confident that it's one of those things. Now we see the dance of death start happening around Fire Giant. Oh, but Ogie almost gets caught out. Is going to be able to dash away, though.
Yeah, we have all players back up. Everyone's grouped, you know, really just fighting for poke advantage, for vision advantage. Is a slight relic lead for Pikachu, as some of the Big C backliners don't have their beads quite yet. And, you know, not really missing much on Pikachu's side. Really just that bracer, which is going to have continual impact. But those beads are coming back off cooldown, and now we can see the Big C, you know, think about this fight.
And it looks like Ogie's trying to get set up on the side, but with nothing coming, they are going to spot him out, chase him away. So he's got to be careful about holding this angle when there are minions there, because, you know, that's how they're seeing him, is when the waves show up. They also have a ward there, actually, so if he plays too high... Oh my goodness, and Albi just ends up melting almost completely and is going to go down, but Raiden's going to be able to trade him back for Colada. Once again, when you're trading a support for a carry, you want to be the one losing the support, but Winchester ends up going into the backline, getting a kill. Ogie says, no, thank you. We're finally punishing Winchester for these hyper dives that we're seeing, and I think that's a really good sign for Big C. Now Big Mama once again caught in these 1v3s. He hasn't been successful in them, but he hasn't died in them yet either. He is going to be able to get out with that jump and shield. The World Serpent's going to come out, and it looks like Demon might be going for a chase. He is going to get a kill onto Raiden with World Serpent as well. Big Mama getting away. Ogi now left struggling to escape, and I think Demon should be able to close this kill out. No, he's barely not going to be able to. Oh, that's so unfortunate if you are Demon, but you still are on the team that won that fight really hard. The big downside being you don't have a free fire giant take.
Mm-hmm. And I just noticed that Winchester bought Blink, and has it upgraded to Scorching Boing, and didn't even use it that fight. And I'm wondering, he had that early lead, but there's only so long into the game that a lead even matters. At this point, both teams have 6 completed items. They've got glyphs all over the place. They have all their relics upgraded. Would he rather have that Aegis for whenever Ogi just attaches to him and bursts him down? That relic pickup may come back to haunt him.
Yeah, I mean, by the time the support has, 2 tier 3 relics and a full build, you're probably not too concerned with who had what lead when, because the lead is nothing. When everyone's full builds, there is no lead. You're looking at who plays the map better and who wins the fights. And yeah, I mean, that's you're exactly right. That is exactly what we're looking at. Right now, we're looking at Raiden getting caught out. We are going to see a bit of damage coming out of him, though, onto Servant. Servant and Demon just trying to keep Big C off the Fire Giant so that Pikachu can secure. I saw an Ishtar ult come out. I see Cola getting a kill onto Petters. I saw Winchester going down to Ogi as well. Kalada's going to get another kill. Left on low HP, and now dead is Albi to the Ishtar. Looking really bad for Big Mama, who's going to get caught out. Ogi now stuck, trapped in mid lane.
Yeah. And that fight is just going to seal it. The Pikachu eSports going to walk this down into the Titan and take...
Ogi's probably going to try to defend, but yeah, he can't do anything here. He's going to go in. How much can he get done? Absolutely nothing, and that is going to be game 1. I shouldn't say nothing. Demon's at half health. He was largely responsible for that, but it's not enough. Half a health bar does not save a game when they're sitting in your Titan room.
Yep. So that will be game 1 to Pikachu eSports. And, just making the most of their comp. They drafted for this... And I've said it before, they've drafted for this single target pick, and they made the best use out of it pretty much throughout the entire game, despite going against what is a high team fight based composition. Got the better of them every single time there was a large engagement.
And like I mentioned a couple times, I think that a big problem coming out of Big C was there was just this perpetual lack of coordination, or at least that's what it looked like, where it would always be Ogi and or Big Mama. They had a plan, they had a play, and they would engage right. And then the rest of the team, being both each other and the other 3, were just not there to follow up when they should have been. And I don't know whose fault it was, but I know what I saw. And I mean, it shouldn't happen like that. If your solo laner's going in for a 1v3 dive, it should become a 3v3 or a 4v3 very quickly. And somewhere along the line, the communications just aren't being made. And I think that needs to change if they want to win.
And I also think the amount of pressure they put just onto Winchester, as much as we were talking him up, he was top deaths on the side of Pikachu eSports, and focusing so much pressure onto him in teamfights allowed Krakatoa and Demon to just basically go ham on the entire rest of the team. They actually finished ahead of him in total damage. And as much as Giannis can do for you as far as a dive, he does not take down those objectives the same way that an Ishtar will, and that was very good for Pikachu to still have that burn.
I'd also just like to point out that as far as vision, Pikachu was definitely doing a lot more warding. I think their wards were just in slightly better positions sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny about the wards to me looking at this is almost any combination of two big C members did not ward as much as Servant did. So that's funny.
That's the support life.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I'm aware.
Yep. I've had some competitive support days myself very recently, and that's how it is.
But
Man, just go ahead.
I was gonna say I do want to know who you think the MVP from either side was, because for me, I would say it's probably Winchester and Ogi.
Mm-hmm. I think Ogi is a pretty strong candidate for MVP on Big C, but honestly, I'd like to shout out Demon on Pikachu's side.
Some of those World Serpents were just huge.
Yeah, some of them completely missed the mark, but even when he wasn't ulting, he was just having so much frontline presence that the Big C really lacked. He was continuously a problem, keeping Raiden out, keeping Petters out, and then just letting the rest of the single target pick comp take out Big Mama or Ogi for the sin of trying to dive in a dive comp.
Yep. Yeah, Demon did a lot of work on the zoning front that match, and you're right. Yes, also definitely a candidate for MVP.
Which is sad for me to say because I'm a mid laner myself. I would love to say it's obviously Winchester.
I don't know. I think pinning down an MVP is kind of hard for Pikachu as well, though, because I think all of them kind of gave reason for being MVP.
Yeah, it's just such a star-studded team. I've heard it said that this is a team full of where every player is arguably top 2 in their role, which is actually funny now that I think about it. Winchester is, I believe, the sub that Pikachu just picked up.
That's very interesting, yeah.
Because Colada is usually their mid laner. Who's their usual solo laner? Yeah, Demon is also a emergency pickup. Usually we have Royans in solo, and had to sub him out for Demon. Usually we have Picolata in mid, but with Varus going down, had to shift Picolata there and pull in Winchester in mid. So really only the duo lane of Pikachu intact here. And arguably the two best candidates for MVP are the random subs.
Yeah, no kidding. And I honestly think number 3 is the person playing off role. I mean, every Naja ult was on point. Like, the top 3 are the unlikely 3, in my opinion, at least.
Yep.
I do think that we are going to head to a BRB screen while Game 2 gets... Okay. Ooh. I have been informed that Game 2 is actually already getting prepared. So that is a big whoops. That is a big whoops. We are going to go into draft for Game 2. See how this goes. I love the fact that we got to see why Pikachu eSports has dropped what I think 1 game this season from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't dropped a single set. It's very impressive the way that they play. So with Pikachu going into Game 2 at a 1-game advantage. Oh, and we are going to see the respect ban of the Horus coming out of Big C this time. Very, very interesting.
We see a Thor first pick. Yeah, something that's been prioritized heavily up and down the ranked and competitive ladder. And a very good flex pick, out of first. But I'm not so sure about letting the Storm Gunner through. Pikachu's already hovering it and will lock it in, which means Demon, has a chance to, repeat what he did in Game 1.
Yeah, and we're gonna see a hyper carry jungle come out of
I
the
will
other
end
side
this
with the
fight.
Bakasura lock as well. We're also going to see the Hachi and Ganesh locked in. Ganesh, another one of those characters that has just kind of been, over the course of year 10 of Smite, slowly picking up in terms of how much he's being played, and a good chunk of that pickup has been time with no buffs. Like, he's gotten them, much like Raw, but even without them, there are periods where people start looking at these gods more, and it's very interesting to me seeing them get picked up more and more and more, to the point where now, I mean, Ganesh is really strong right now, but he's not that much stronger than he was a month ago.
Yeah, I do think it has to do with, the Season of Souls power changes. I believe the power buff on his 1 and the protection buff on his 2 didn't get touched at all.
Time to
Power buff or damage buff? I don't actually recall.
I thought it was a power buff, but either
See,
way...
I should know, because I've been playing Ganesh a lot in the past week, but I really don't. And that's my bad. We are also going to see Athena, the Skitterbug, Kibo, and Thoth get banned
It is
out.
percent bonus damage. So.
It is damage, okay. Which is honestly probably why Ganesh is so much better relative after the power nerfs, because it's not power, it's damage, which is just, it's so much better.
Yeah.
We are seeing the
My power
Cucullin and
cannot
Merlin
be
hover
contained.
for Big C, and we are going to see Cucullin get locked in, a solo laner that was really strong, then fell off, now starting to pick up steam again. And Merlin, a mid laner who, much like Tiamat, has kind of just been good all of year 10 so far.
Mm-hmm. We will see this 10th pick Maui hover. That's insane. Usually Maui is, a top priority in any draft, but to see him fall this far down is, such a weird situation. But, I think if this gets locked in, both teams are coming out of this with really strong drafts.
All right. About
One
time
interesting
it got
thing, though,
interesting around
if they
here.
do lock in the Maui, and they do, you can't Maui ult a Ganesh, because Ganesh can just drop the silence and just say, nah, I'm staying right here. I'm staying right here, hovered. I'm not on the ground. So it's like being a flying type Pokemon, right? It's like, oh, I'm not on the ground. Your ground type move doesn't affect me.
Yep. And we have the Thor who can hammer over it should he get pulled. Still going to be a hugely impactful ult, as Maui ult always is. Just because of the amount of engage it can bring in.
Can't hit the support with it doesn't mean it's not a good ultimate. It's still fantastic.
I just would love to see, in a laning scenario, him try to pull that Ganesh out of tower and him just sit there.
And then we also have Thor with that semi-global presence as well, coming out of the jungle. That ultimate being just fantastic for ganks. So I'm interested to see how that plays out as well. But the thing I'm really excited about mostly is this Ganesh pick.
Yeah. Yeah, it gives a lot of spice to this early duo lane. Because Ganesh, not really known for his clear or pressure, but has some interesting intricacies to his PvP early game. That means he can kind of keep up, I believe. But honestly, the lane I'm excited about is the solo matchup. We saw early game last time. Demon just sat on, was not having a whole lot of fun earlier mid game, and yet managed to bring it back to have an excellent late game. And it's back on this Yorm, and so we may see a repeat of that same dynamic.
Absolutely, that is very possible. We'll have to see if the change to the Cucullin pick is going to change how things play out in this early game. And also the junglers just being completely different picks from what they were last time, just in terms of how they're going to function at any individual stage of the game. So we're not guaranteed to see the same level of early aggression out of the junglers that we did last time. I mean, Bakasura is certainly not known for his early game, but his mid to late is just absolutely insane. I like seeing the Merlin versus the Agni in mid lane, just because that was, you know, that was the meta a few months ago, and that's just, you know, you'd see those two and Tiamat, and I just like seeing combinations of them fly at each other.
Yeah, just that artillery poke battle between the two of those. Probably going to see a little more action in mid than we did last game, just because of, you know, the amount of range damage these two can put out.
Yep. I mean, Merlin with the black hole and the vortex pulley thing. You know, he's also got that slow. He's got his ice stance 1, which does extra damage if you're slowed. You know, there's a lot that you can do to poke with. Not in fire stance, but that's because that one's not for poking. Yeah, and then as far as the Agni, just with how his ult works and is structured, you know, we could see him using that for poke. We could see him using it for stuns in tandem with the with the cloud that he puts down. I'm very interested to see how these mid laners are going to play.
Yeah, and it looks like we're about to get into the game with Pikachu eSports up 1, looking to take yet another 2-0 to really solidify their position as the best team in the league. And Big C, you know, needing to win 2 just to have a shot.
Yeah, if Big C can't clean up some of the glaring issues that we saw in that last game, I mean, Pikachu is just going to prove further that they are the best team in the league. I mean, and that's what the stats say so far. They've only dropped a game or two, not even a set, and they're in, you know, upper division, which is as high as you get. So if you're number 1, 6 games deep, and you've only dropped, I mean, even if they dropped 3 games in 3 different sets, that would still be this insane show of dominance relative to the rest of the league. So it'll be very interesting to see how that shapes up. And we're also seeing Tainted Steel on the Yorn this match.
Not entirely sure what that is into. I know he did it last game.
See, I passed that to you because I was confused.
Yeah, because he
okay,
went
I'm
that,
glad you are too.
Yeah, he went that game 1, and I'm trying to remember, you know, into the Raw, I can totally see it going Tainted just because it, you know, does a lot in the mid and late game for him. I don't see the same benefit.
Hunters are building lifesteal right now in Devos,
Yeah.
I guess.
I'm not sure it's worth it. I think he just wants it as a stat stick, and, you know, is
Which it is
allergic
decent
to
at.
going. Yeah, is just allergic to going Conduit or Vampiric instead. But I'm honestly not 100% with him on this starter pick.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one confused by it. We are going to see relatively standard starts coming out of everyone as well. No, nothing spicy to shake it up. You know, I always get into casting these games, and I'm just like, all right, when's someone gonna do something real wacky, and then they never do, and I'm always sad.
Yep. Yeah, that's just the nature of optimization. You know,
Yeah.
we've seen a good few like start shifts over the course of year 10, but seem to have settled down for the time being. Some early pressure out into solo. This is a huge scrap.
Yeah, there's a skirmish. I joked about this happening before the stream started, about there being a scrap in every lane at once, and that's kind of just what's happening right now. So, but we aren't going to see a lot come out of it. All of these scraps going relatively even, although health bars certainly looking like Pikachu eSports is favorable in this hyper early game portion. So, as well as mana, actually. Oh my goodness, yeah, Raiden burned all of it. But in exchange, didn't take too much damage there.
Yeah, luckily he is that Merlin with the sands into artifact start, so he has the chance to earn some of that back just by being him. As there will be a scrap on the over the neutral farm.
Oh, and
you know,
yeah, suddenly both of Pikachu's are very low. We're gonna see the hammer spins around and Colada goes down. Oh my goodness. I believe Big C also secured the Harpies in that fight. I could be mistaken. So, no benefits to Pikachu eSports for that. All losses there. Very big turnaround from how we saw last game starting.
It
Good
was just
sign, but the early game wasn't the problem last time. That's my concern.
yeah, it was just confusing pathing to me. The fact that Kalada decided to wrap around aggressively and then dash the wave there, left him. He was already like extremely low on health, and it just left him in easy pickup range. Which is weird. This is his main role. He's actually moved back into mid and traded with Varus.
Yeah, I believe one of the subs was able to get replaced with their normal, normal choice, which is less good for Big C with the issues they were having last time. But it actually looks like it might be better for Big C as things stand right now, which is very interesting. I mean, do you just permanently swap roles if something like that happens? Not sure, but what I am sure of is that Ogi is going to go in for a bit of a dive. Going to get damage in, but it won't be enough. Now leaving Big Mama alone, but Kalada suddenly very low and is going to go down to Big Mama. Demon now caught out just a little bit. Doesn't look like they're going to get a ton done here. I believe I saw Raiden in fire stance there just to get as much quick burn as possible, but it didn't turn out to be enough. Is going to invade that blue while in mid lane. We're going to see the junglers scrap over the red camp. Ogi, very big lead so far in this, but he's not going to be able to secure that kill. Very unfortunate if you're in that position. Like, there's nothing else to say about it, really. It's just, you're sad about not getting the kill. Better luck next time, I hope. Oh, but Big Mama is going to rotate over and get the kill. What the heck?
He rotated
oh my goodness!
all the way from his tier 1 tower
to the speed buff.
Chased down Varus. Yeah, he wanted that one. Like was it worth it? Probably not. But yeah, he wanted that. And I just kind of got to wonder about Picolata, who died trying to invade that blue buff on the right side, whether he's kind of thrown off rhythm by having played jungle for a game and is now back into his main role because he is on the struggle bus in this early game. Like, no idea how he went down on the right side.
My follow-up to that question is, I mean, is he just a better jungler than mid laner, and is there something that he should look at in future Smite opportunities, Because, I mean, that's also a possibility. I do think you're right, though, that mindset has something to do with it. You go from one role to another, and it's a lot harder to adjust, especially when it's in these organized environments where, if you get auto-filled one game to jungle when you're queuing, I don't know, mid ADC, it's still going to feel awkward switching back to, mid lane or ADC, but not as awkward as playing in a structured environment like this in jungle. Because that's an entire game where you have to be top form in that jungle, and now you're just back to your main role literally immediately. I mean, there was, 5-10 minutes between the games? There's no reset time.
Yep.
There's less reset time than a ranked queue.
Yeah, can't even, hop into jungle practice or anything, to warm up on something, just because there's not enough time before you've got to get back into your custom, and talking about draft the entire time.
Yeah. We are going to see Demon get very low. Varus chased Ogi all the way over into the solo lane. Not a lot came out of it for either of them. Now Varus looking to go on Big Mama. Ogi's going to say no. Varus going to drop that ultimate. That's just that cripple and a ton of damage, plus the minions. Ogi almost going to go down to the minions, actually almost, but is able to cancel the back in time. Now Big Mama choosing to chase Varus once again halfway across the map. Ogi just wants to make sure this blue buff gets secured, and Big Mama just... Yeah, he did. He did. I've been in that position so many times.
Interesting build from Demon here. We saw the tier 1 Manticore spike come out, which is, okay, you lost your blue buff. You need that extra sustain in the early game, but he actually upgraded it to tier 2, as well as a tier 2 shield. I'm not sure what that is about.
Yeah, I don't know why you would upgrade, because the tier 2 of that item, and I actually know this because I've been building Mana Core Spikes a lot. It's one of my favorite items right now. The tier 2 gives you magic prots and no extra MP5. It is the same MP5 as the tier 1. They both provide 15. You get an extra 5 MP5 by upgrading all the way to Mana Core Spikes, and that's also where the physical prots come from. So I'm wondering if there's concern in the back of Demon's head about Colada rotating over or Servant's early to mid game damage being high enough that maybe those little bits of magic prots are worth it. Otherwise, I'm really not sure what the thought process is there.
Yeah, I just don't see it. And we see on the other side, Big Mama retained that tier 1 earring, despite the fact that he doesn't have mana in general, and finish out that gladiator shield. And we saw in that fight earlier where Big Mama got easily the better end of Demon. I thought it was just going to be, a solo lane flat fight, but they actually did get Demon almost to death range. And I think this Glad Shield has something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made that the Glad Shield should have been foregone due to the matchup, but I mean, we're seeing how much that Glad Shield damage can matter. The item's been nerfed, I think, what, twice in year? Oh my goodness, I didn't think that was going to do anything. Varus ults, and I thought it was going to be for nothing. No, it is going to be for the kill. Now we're going to see Thor in the skies, is going to whiff the stun, but he really wants to get this kill. You just killed my friend, and I'm going to avenge him.
Oh, that was just
not going to be able to get there. That's
disrespectful.
so unfortunate. Big Mama just wanted to cover Ogie's escape. It wasn't even really an escape. It was just a not want to fight. And he ends up going down for it. And with him being a little bit ahead, that's also really bad because now Varus gets so much more value than if they were, just even. That 2-0 does contribute to that. It's very unfortunate.
It was just disrespectful from Varus, honestly. Like, going in, invading a bat camp in Ogie's face, taking the 1v2 without just full retreating at that point, killing Big Mama somehow, like, through his Fizz D, and managing to escape all the way into solo lane, all the while, Raiden and Albi were forced to rotate, to see if they can cover, see if they can defend against, like, a counter push from Pikachu, and it just ended up they wasted their time trying to rotate.
Both teams also, at the very least, thinking about the Gold Fury, as we saw Servant hovering there for quite a while. Not sure what he was doing. It doesn't look like he was putting a ward down. And then we saw Ogie, spot him out. So that's interesting. And I think that we're going to see, if I had to guess, it looks like what's going to happen is we're going to see some scrapping over the Fury that's going to move its way closer to mid lane when that beacon opens up. Or if it happens later on, it'll be beacon transitioning into Gold Fury. But that's my guess. I'm not good at the game, so I could be wrong.
Looks like we'll see a little bit of poke over on this left side. Not really anything to fight over here. Shield buff was already down. Not really a situation where either team's quite ready to group for gold. Not with the beacon up in another 90 seconds or so.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we are, if we're going to see this transition to gold, and I feel like it probably should. I think it's going to start at beacon rather than the other way around. Oh my goodness. Wow. Things keep escalating so quickly. I think I saw, yeah, I absolutely did. I saw a charge come out of the Agni ult there from Colada, and it wasn't enough. Varus going to ult in, is going to get right in, but is going to get traded back
Ganesh
by
kill.
Obi. Ganesh kill. You don't see a Ganesh kill every day.
Oh
if
my God.
You're not familiar with why we're excited about this, hold on, I'll explain it in a moment. Things are getting very spicy. Krakatoa is going to get a kill on two Petters, get traded back by Ogie, though. ADC for ADC is not too bad, I guess, but Petters left behind in this match.
Oh my God.
I do want to quickly say, though, if you're not familiar with Ganesh passive, his passive basically says that if there's a teammate around, you are not allowed to get a kill. They get it when you get it instead. So seeing Ganesh get a kill is a very rare occurrence, and I just get excited whenever I see it.
Yeah, and that fight starts with, the mid laners actually choosing to go all in on each other, which we did not see in the previous
that last game. Nope.
It's like both of them were waiting for late at this point. But, this time around, they ended up just being, like, in melee range on the beacon, hitting each other with everything they got, and Raiden getting the better of Pikachu, who's just had a struggle game.
And Ogi is going to get the kill onto Colada. Things do look a lot more coordinated this time, I've got to say. Like, it doesn't look like anyone's making plays that the rest of the team seem completely unaware of. But unfortunately, Big C now left at a numbers disadvantage over on this side, just trying to poke out an ice stance. Raiden is. Varus going to ult in, push them back under tower, and they don't have the health to stop Pikachu from getting the first beacon. And so close to stopping Demon from getting out there.
Yeah,
but
could
have had a ton of damage, but all of it goes nowhere.
Yeah, just a lack of rotation from Big Mama. Demon was huge in that team fight, and gotta wonder if the Cullen was in that pit, landed an ult, got a rage off, how much differently that could have gone, but we'll never know.
Yeah, I mean, he's halfway to max rage. He absolutely would have hit it had he been in that fight. He would have hulked out, as it were, and I agree. I'm very surprised and confused at that decision. We are going to see Petters have to use the ults as a getaway tool. Albi now here, as well as Ogi, if they want to re-engage here. But Servant wants to make that as difficult as possible. And Windows Defender wants to make casting as difficult as possible. Servant looking for a grab is going to go in for a jump instead, is going to whiff it. Not a lot's going to be capitalized off that, and he's going to get the grab instead. Now I think it's more of a contest to see who secures this purple buff. Neither team really trying for it, but that is a pretty solid amount of farm. I didn't see who got it. I think that it was Pikachu. Damage coming out all over the place. I did see Servant's ult come out as well. Colada dropping a firebomb as well, but it wasn't enough. Varus ulting. Oh my goodness, and it's not enough. He's not going to be able to get a kill or get out. Ogi able to get away on low health as we see this World Serpent come out. Had it gone just a little bit differently, Ogi could have been in serious danger, but instead now Ogi just able to play safe around the team, and it looks like Servant is going to be able to get away, and Colada is safe. No, the two of them are re-engaging, despite the fact that Servant was actually safe to back, not being poked out. So now they're moving under the tier 2, seeing if they can get anything extra done here. Servant moving up. You're pretty tanky. You have the health regen from Thebes, and I think Sov is the one that gives health regen of the single aura items. So plenty of health regen to walk up with. But it doesn't look like a lot's going to come out of either side here. It's very interesting.
Yeah, just so much work coming in from Demon in that fight. Once again, now that he's got his build, pretty much sorted out, got that tier 3 Glad Shield and tier 3 Mana Cores, is getting the full value out of both of those passives, is just free to run hog wild, around the fight. But, an early lead still from the Big C, not by much. Don't let the kills fool you. It's a very small lead in gold as Petters gets his ult forced out defensively once again. The main thing I'm looking at is Colada is just having a suffer game. He is like, what, 0-4? Somehow is almost dead in mid. Was in the red health bar for a second. And that's, kind of straining Pikachu's team fight because of how much of an impact that backline carry can have. And we've also seen Krakatoa go Griffin Wing Earrings, which is a very unusual pick in this Conquest meta, and it's going to be hamstringing his damage for quite a while.
Another thing that I want to point out as well is you're talking about Colada having quite the off game this time, and it makes Pikachu's team fights that much more difficult, but we're seeing the entire team on Pikachu's side make some mistakes, like when Servant and Colada both had enough time to back, and then they chose to re-engage. I feel like Big C, with where they were positioned, should have gotten both of them, but they're not punishing these mistakes, and I'm really not sure if they're just that worried. Maybe it's a mental thing, with how game one went. But where we're not seeing the apparent blatant lack of coordination, we're now seeing absolutely no will to punish these mistakes, and like you trade one major flaw for another, and I mean, yeah, you're in the lead now, but if you're not punishing these mistakes and they start covering them better, you're gonna start losing that lead.
Looks like you've got another, small skirmish in mid. Not much to fight over. Still a couple minutes left on the Stygian beacon. Gold Fury is up, but, not really. Neither team really in position to full burn it. Really just a bait at best.
Also, am I seeing correctly? Is that Pikachu having a ward on the beacon, but not Big C? That is very interesting and a big advantage for them. Eyeball privileges have been revoked from Big C. Thankfully, they've gotten their glasses renewed. New prescription, new glasses, new me. Fantastic.
Yep. And that's the only really major ult going down in that small skirmish. Not the worst they could have lost, but, is going to be a factor. Great stim, if nothing else, for Krakatoa, next time the fight pops off.
Demon just trying to make it rain on the Gold Fury pit. Don't want to step in those mud puddles, dirty your shoes. Albie going to silence Demon so that it's much harder to follow his team under tower. Big Mama now looking to frontline as the beacon comes up, and everyone's pretty high on health and mana, so we're going to have to see how this ends. Big Mama backs, and it looks like they're just giving up the beacon. Well, never mind. I was going to say that we were in for an interesting fight. We weren't in for a fight at all.
Nope, us Beacon Boogie enjoyers were not eating well right there.
No.
Just going to be a full retreat from the Big C for basically not much. And meanwhile, Pikachu notices, nobody's around to defend this Gold Fury. Gonna be an attempted steal from Albie.
Yeah,
Committing
I mean,
the
no
ults,
one contests the
nothing.
beacon, you head over to Fury, and if there's someone there, you steal. If there's not, you take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just superior map play coming out from Pikachu there, who have actually now, because of those two objectives, taken the gold lead, despite being down 5 kills and having their mid laner be 0-4, and a Pyro
I think you mean
coming
3
in
objectives
for free.
Oh my goodness. When I said that making these mistakes, these different mistakes, you're still making mistakes, and they will start costing you your lead. I didn't expect it to happen so soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really confused about it, and I know I've said this a few times so far this set, I am very impressed with what I'm seeing out of Pikachu. Their micro and their macro play are just above and beyond what we're seeing coming out of Big C and what I've seen out of other teams. And that's by no means meant to downplay the other teams in this league. They're all fantastic. That's why they're here. But there's a reason Pikachu is above and beyond everyone else right now. We're going to see Big Mama go down to an ult from Varus as well. Very interesting. Albie just looking to engage a little bit for Raiden to be able to get stuff done, but not quite enough. Ogi's going to ult and barely miss. And that is never, never, never going to feel good.
Yeah, they saw that gank in solo and just wanted to get something in return, and ended up overcommitting. Wasted a Thor ult onto empty air. In a mid lane 2v2 with a Ganesh and a Merlin, you're not really expected to get any kills, even if you full engage and use everything, just because there's still a tier 1 tower there. And there's not a lot of not a huge amount of sustained damage from either side. Just not the fight for them to be taking. And
Speaking of taking fights, have you looked at the ADC levels, by the way?
oh no.
That's not good. And also, 2 tiers of item ahead on top of that now 3-level lead. It's been closed slightly.
And
Varus now showing up in dual lane, gonna drop the ult again, and I mean, Petters just can't do anything. Ogi shows up, whiffs, and is too late. Now, suddenly, it's a 1v4. Albi's already retreated. He's gonna try and cover, but I mean, what can you do from behind? Big Mama comes out, barely whiffing. The ultimate is Servant now as well.
Yeah, that was just a rage Maui ult. I've been there where it's like somebody's getting out and you don't want them out.
Just come back here, you walnut! And then you press the button and you miss because it's max range.
Yeah, not gonna be like huge for Pikachu, seeing as they have the lead, but they will be missing that ult for the next.
But it never feels good when you Maui ult and it's this close to working. It doesn't matter what goes wrong.
Oh, but an overstay.
Okay, and that's gonna be, you wish you got the kill, the last hit on that if you're Petters, but at least he went down. Beacon now 2 minutes out for the third beacon here.
That's gonna be a kill onto a majorly ahead Krakatoa, and beads out of Varus, and the fight's still going.
Oh my goodness, and with 1 health, I thought Colado was about to get out, but no, he is going to go down. Ogi, Big Mama, and Petters ults all down now, while World Serpent, the only freshly down ult as of now. And we are going to potentially see Servant go down if he's not careful. It looks like he is going to be careful. Vera's going to go down, but not without trading himself out. Petters being the one to get the kill onto Varus, which is very good with how far ahead Varus is. Absolutely fantastic with the comeback mechanics. As much as they've been toned down, you still want to be the one to last hit these players that are so far ahead of you. And it looks like Albi might get caught out for a kill, just maybe, or maybe not. It looks like he is going to be able to get away. Petter is going to be able to get that kill onto Servant that I called out would happen if he wasn't careful just a moment ago. Now, looking very bad for Krakatoa, but not as bad as it looks for Albi, who will go down in the end, and Big Mama's gonna go down. Petter's left 1 health, the last one alive. So much poke to come out, and that deicide is going to be, unofficial deicide, I'm sorry, is going to be converted immediately into a Gold Fury take. And I can't imagine they're gonna stray far from this beacon, aside from Demon getting his health back.
Yeah, that was such an overstay for both teams. It was actually like Pikachu, with 2 tanks and nothing else, decided to chase, a full retreat Ganesh and Hachiman. They never got the kill.
They almost got the kill on the Ganesh. I think with better execution, they may have.
I don't know. That was a mental error from the Ganesh, honestly, and he still didn't die. But that was not worth chasing down. No. And then Big Mama managed to come back into the fight, and seal off Albi. But then the rest of Big C decide, okay, this is the fight to take now. Let's full chase, and ended up getting completely wiped for it. No reason
started so well for them too.
Not to just take that.
Also, am I mistaken in saying that the beacon has been taken by Pikachu uncontested all 3 times?
I believe so.
I don't think that Big C has contested at all on the beacon, really.
Yeah. I've forgotten on the first one, but I know that one that just went down right now was uncontested, and so was the second.
I know the second one, yeah. The first one's what I'm blanking on. We're going to see a World Serpent come out mostly just for poke pressure, but it is going to get a fair amount of damage off. We're going to see Maui once again barely whiff the Island Yoink. That's not what it's called, but that's what it is.
Oh, Varus all the way behind here, trying to turn around this fight with surprise factor alone.
But not before Krakatoa goes down, but he is going to go in, get that spicy double kill. Can he make it a triple onto Big Mama? Maybe, just maybe. No, he can't. Raiden is going to make sure of that. but Demon gonna be the one to
How
get
did
Big
he get
Mama.
back there?
Servant goes down. I don't know. And now we're just gonna see Krakatoa probably get chased too far. No, he's actually gonna go down this time. History has lied to us this time. Will we see Demon go down in the 1v1 with Raiden? Tanks are really strong right now. There is a world where Demon wins this, but we're not living in that world today. We see Big C win another very confusing but very interesting fight.
And Raiden gets his back interrupted by the
Soul Surge
minion. But I see what
No.
happened now. Demon actually, after getting poked out to even start that fight, almost dying and living because of the ult and that alone, backed somehow in the thick of things and teleported in all the way behind the entirety of the Big C and almost
Oh
turned
my
the fight around,
goodness.
in addition to, Varus's incredible dive. But just didn't quite seal all the health bars, even with all that Yorm damage.
That's just that. Wow. I have no words. At least I have no words because of a cool play this time and not how did this not go the way that it should have, you know?
Yep, just Pikachu started that fight, in all the wrong ways, by getting engaged on, by losing health bars, by being kind of honestly split up more than they needed to be. But, hero plays almost brought them back to
Two
an
hero
even or a winning
plays.
fight. But, the Big C having, running this all-team fight composition once again, finally got the better of them, even with their, small deficit.
It looks like Big C is at least starting a pull. Whether this is bait or not, we'll have to see. Even if it's not bait, though, it looks like this one might turn into a fight off of the pit. Nah, they're kind of committed to this now. I mean, it looks like they really want it, but no, it looks like they're choosing to fight instead. Petter's gonna go down, though, despite using his ultimate. And we are going to see Demon drop World Serpent. Varus is going to drop an ultimate, get a double Krakatoa. Gonna get another kill. Varus gets another one. And now they have a half-health Fire Giant with their entire team. I don't know. I feel like you might want to hold this for another 50 seconds, but they're not going to.
Yeah, and that's just a full house from Varus and Krakatoa, just going huge that fight. The Big C, wanted to bait originally. You could tell when the Merlin exited the fire pit and went around the pyro to do something, but they just weren't all on the same page when they dropped it, and Pikachu...
Wait a minute, isn't this the end? Wait, are they going to end this before anyone gets back up?
4 seconds.
Oh my goodness! They are! It's too late! The Maui ult to finish the Titan from Servant, and out of nowhere, from probably the cleanest fight, admittedly, of the entire set, Pikachu is going to take Game 2 and the set. Oh my goodness. What an end. I didn't think that was going to be the end. I wasn't ready. Wow.
That was whiplash, honestly. All it took was one goofy pull off of the Big C, stuck in between, okay, do we keep burning to force them to come into the pit, or do we, accept our positional advantage and let them come to us, and splitting the difference and splitting in two
You got half your team that
Krakatoa
wants
and
to fight
Varus.
and half that wants to secure.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter which one's right. If you're not backing one of those decisions, you have to get behind one of those decisions, because if you're not and you're split between them, we see exactly what we saw there, what we see in all of my ranked games.
Yeah, and once Raiden exited the pit, all their secure, like a solid portion of their burn was just gone. Like, it had to be an engage from that point onwards, and they just couldn't get it done. They couldn't get, that Ganesh ult, or that big knock up out of the Kakoan, anything. And yeah, I see why they got wiped.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate from Big C. Like I was saying in game 1, there was that lack of coordination, and I was talking up in game 2 how it seemed like they had actually patched it up. And then that last fight happened at Fire Giant. And on top of the fact that they had these new mistakes in game 2 of just never punishing anything,
Yeah.
we're now also reverting.
Yeah.
Now they have this lack of coordination on top of that. It just spelled disaster. There's definitely issues that need to be worked on Big C's side, but
And they had the lead in the early game.
they
Like
did.
they were doing work, shutting down Piccolata, who started the game 0-4 and never did get that kill. But I remember there was that point where they let the second beacon go down for free. I was like, okay, it's just a beacon. And then they let the Gold Fury go down for free when they had the numbers to contest it. And that was bad. And then they let the Pyro go down for free. And it's like, okay, y'all have thrown the lead out the window from this point onward.
Yeah. I mean that early fight, the fight where it was one overextension into another, you had Colada and Servant at 1 HP, and I still don't understand why they didn't back. It worked out, I guess, but I don't get how when the two of them started playing further up, I know Colada hovered between the towers, but they started playing in places where they could have been punished. And I mean, Colada was one hit from any of the 3 carries away from going down, and just nothing. Everyone turned toward Demon and just ignored both of them. And I don't know how that happens repeatedly, those sorts of situations, but they do. And when things go right, we saw both of these teams put up amazing fights. But when things go wrong, they go catastrophically wrong, and more so for Big C. But once again, Demon just did so much this game. It was so fantastic to watch this Yorm play out. Every ult from Varus got a ton of damage off, and I'm glad to see that none of these picks went to waste. And I really do think that Varus or Demon were probably the MVPs for Pikachu this game.
Oh, I'd honestly easily give it to Varus. We see why he's the regular jungler for this team. Yeah, having missed game 1 and asserted his authority in this one.
Walked in, T-posed, and started default dancing all over him.
And as now, after this set, secured. I think there's no way any other team can catch Pikachu in the Big C at this point. They can catch Pikachu eSports now that they hold the tiebreaker over the Big C and Skull Kings. They're just about locked in for that number 1 seed in the upper division.
And I mean, they've proven decisively today, going up against the number 2 in week 6, that I mean they deserve to be here. They're so far above and beyond, and they're able to punish these lack of punishes, these lacks of coordination. Their micro and their macro are just, we see it consistently being so good on every part of the map. There's a reason that this team has not dropped a set yet this season. I do think that the ADCs both played really well. But
yeah, I'd say more so Krakatoa that last game. Even though he went with the Griffin Wing pick, which is semi confusing, just absolutely pumping out damage. Had that at one point 20 to 16 level lead.
Yeah, that was insane. But I do think that I believe that we're going to be wrapping up here in a moment. So We hope you all have enjoyed the game. I know we certainly have. Thank you all for checking out today's match. I hope you continue to enjoy GSL in the future.
Meow. Meow. Meow.